Now, there can't be any corner of the motorcycling world that hasn't heard of the Isle of Man TT races. They've been taking place for over 80 years. They're a supreme test of a rider's skill and courage and of a machine's handling and reliability. This Manx Norton 500, for example, represents in some measure the pinnacle of British road racing history because it's helped Norton to win more Isle of Man TT races than any other motorcycling marque. And the very special quality of these races resides in the fact they take place on public roads, closed, of course, for the duration of the race, that twist and wind around the island. Last month, Tony Mason went to another island, this time off the coast of Scotland, where very, very unusually, the public roads had been closed for a motorsports event.
The Tour of Mull is a three-day rally for the non-professionals in the sport, the club drivers. It's remarkable for its island location and for the fact that the organisers have managed to close public roads for the event, something which loftier bodies have not been able to achieve. Only 24 miles across, the island has 160 miles of roads and over a third of them are closed for the occasion. The car club that organises the event chose the island as a prime site for rallying in 1969. The roads in the enthusiasts' native Lancashire were becoming far too crowded. Here, the only thing they had to contend with was the odd bread van.
It started because my family and I came for a holiday here that year, and this rather strange idea occurred that the roads of Mull were suitable for an event that we had in mind. It seemed a rather far-fetched idea, but once we had suggested it, there was a lot of enthusiasm on the island, principally I think because it would generate some income, but also some interest in a place where usually it's all peace and tranquility.
But when the RAC outlawed fast road rallies in 1987, it threatened the end of the Tour of Mull. There was only one answer: get rid of all the other traffic.
To close the roads was a monumental task. It was the sheer dedication of the Blackburn-based motor club that organises the rally that made it all possible. 3 years' work, a bill before the House of Lords and the House of Commons, 2 readings, the full support of the Strathclyde Regional Council and the signature of the Queen. But now it's happened, and no less than 100 entries have made their way here from all over Britain to compete.
Of course, to organise a rally on an island is a logistical feat in itself. The lone ferry from Oban has to work overtime, bringing over every last nut and bolt. And Tobermory's main garage has to open 24 hours a day, commandeered by drivers anxious to fettle their cars to the peak of perfection. The rally doesn't only take place on metalled roads. It has its share of forest action, with stages every bit as difficult as some of those we've come to know on the mainland. Some of the cars we're more used to seeing on the road on classic rallies were revelling in the loose.
Road rallies used to always take place at night to avoid any incidents with other motorists. Modern international rallies, however, seem to have gone towards office hours and daylight. But the organisers of the Tour of Mull have stuck to their traditions, and the bumpy island roads are made even more tortuous because the entire tarmac sections take place during the hours of darkness.
5, 4, 3, 2...
It may be a Scottish island, but it could be Monte Carlo, San Remo, Corsica, or any other world-famous tarmac rally. With no fear of oncoming traffic, the drivers were giving it all they'd got. Closed roads are not totally unknown to British rally drivers. It's part of the scene in Northern Ireland, the Channel Islands, and, as we all know, the Isle of Man. But here in Mull, it was something of an unknown quantity. Full speed practice is not allowed. Most of the crews had toddled round the roads the week before to get to know the lay of the land. That way they were able to anticipate any obstacles, but there were still some who were inclined to overextend themselves. This incident could be excused, since the escort was already driving on a flat tyre at the time. But the marvellous thing about Mull is that they all come back for more.
How many years have you been doing this event?
21 now, Tony. Everyone, done everyone.
And what appeals to you about it?
Oh, I think it's because I'm a bit daft. No, I always feel like a lot of other people, too old for this damn job, you know, but when I get going, I like it.
What is the magic of this rally?
Good question, is that? I don't know whether it's the water between the mainland or the people on the island or the atmosphere when you get here. I think it's probably the atmosphere when you get here.
Yes.
That's what I feel, you know. It's a fantastic place, you make a lot of friends. I just wish I could come back in summer when the weather's better.
But we may see you again next year as well.
Well, I was supposed to be retiring 3 years ago and I keep going back and doing Mull every year.
The promenade of the tiny town of Tobermory was totally taken over by the rally. But do the locals mind the incursion?
On the whole, all these people that come up, they're very mannerly and courteous, and I don't think the locals will have anything at all to complain about.
It's quite an invasion, though, isn't it? Nearly doubles the population.
Yes, but that's not a bad thing, is it? It's really quite a good thing. We welcome anybody coming to the island anytime. You don't have Highland hospitality here, you have island hospitality, which is an entirely different thing.
Surprisingly, the police here are keen rally supporters. Several have come over from the mainland and seem to be taking an active role in proceedings.
Oh, this is the first time I've actually seen racing numbers on a police car. Now, what's your role here?
The role of this car is that of filling the position of the first vehicle through the stretch of road affected by a closure, or the various closures as they roll on, and to signify to all officials, competitors and the public, the road is now closed to members of the public.
And you're not tempted to sort of go very quickly, are you? And have a go against the clock?
The temptation's here, yes.
Even the police agreed that the first closed road tour of Mull had been a model operation. There were no problems and the overall standard of driving had been very high. Some of the favourites dropped out early, leaving local knowledge to shine through. Winner Andy Knight in his borrowed Nova was one of several islanders to do well on the 21st tour of Mull, the first to have closed roads. But what are the chances of more of this type of rallying elsewhere?
I think in the rest of the UK it's going to prove rather difficult. And personally I find that rather sad and slightly uncomfortable, being in the position where the Tour of Mull is probably going to be the only one for some time. I prefer it not to be that way.
So it looks as if any form of motorsport on closed public roads in Britain is going to remain a very rare event.